সকাল, শুভ সন্ধ্যা দর্শক। আমি আটলান্টা থেকে রানুয়া চৌধুরী আজকে নোয়া ভিশন থেকে আপনাদের সামনে এসেছি। যারা আমাদের সাথে আজকে এই অনুষ্ঠানে আছেন অনেক, অনেক শুভকামনা, অনেক ধন্যবাদ। দর্শক আমরা আজকে একটা ইন্টারেস্টিং টপিক নিয়ে আলোচনা করব। আজকেরটা কথাভিত্তিক আছে ঘরে বাইরে অনুষ্ঠান। এটা গান নয়, আমি ইউজুয়ালি গানের প্রোগ্রাম অনেক করি, বাট আজকে আমরা একটা ইন্টারেস্টিং টপিক নিয়ে কথা বলবো এবং একজন মানুষের জীবন সংগ্রাম এবং কিভাবে তার দর্শন বদলে গেল সেটা নিয়ে একটু কথা বলবো। সময় নষ্ট না করে চলে যাই আমাদের অতিথিদের কাছে। আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছেন নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে নাসিমা জাহান এবং জিব্রাইল মোহাম্মদ। জিব্রাইল, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
হ্যালো রেনুয়া।
হ্যালো। সো দর্শক আমি আজকে হয়তো মোস্টলি জিব্রাইলের সাথে যখন কথা বলবো আমি ইংরেজিতে কথা বলবো এবং আমি তখন অবশ্যই তারপরে একটু থেমে থেমে মনে হয় না তেমন দরকার হবে, বাট হয়তো একটু থেমে থেমে ইন্টারপ্রেট করে নেব বাংলায়। তার আগে আমাদেরকে 1 মিনিট সময় দেন, আমরা এই অনুষ্ঠানটি আজকে আমাদের পেজে একটু শেয়ার করি। 1 মিনিট নীরবতা। দর্শক ধন্যবাদ। অনুগ্রহপূর্বক যারা আজকে আমাদের এই শোটি দেখছেন যদি অনুষ্ঠানটি শেয়ার করে দেন আমরা অত্যন্ত খুশি হব এবং অনুগ্রহপূর্বক নোয়া ভিশনে আপনারা সাবস্ক্রাইব করবেন যাতে আমরা ভবিষ্যতে আরো এরকম ইন্টারেস্টিং টপিক নিয়ে আপনাদের সামনে আসতে পারি। সময় নষ্ট না করে চলে যাচ্ছি জিব্রাইলের কাছে। জিব্রাইল, গুড মর্নিং। আসসালামু আলাইকুম। How are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah. I'm fine. How are you?
I am doing great. How is the weather in New York?
It's colder today.
It's cold. It's getting cold in Atlanta too, but not as cold as New York, I would say. Nasima, তুমি কেমন আছো আজকে? শুভ সকাল।
ভালো আছি। New York weather, এই তো ups and down. Every weekend day it's rainy and it's cloudy. So like weekdays are fine, but weekends, like they want to have some cool stuff too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rainy and cloudy, yes.
It seems to rain every weekend though.
Every weekend. Yep.
I think it's like it's getting ready for snow. Maybe, who knows? Early snow. চলে যাই মূল অনুষ্ঠানে. So Jibril, of course this program is mainly geared towards you. I'm gonna try to make it interesting, sir. So tell us, where were you born? Let's give a biography, quick biography. Where were you born, sir? Which state?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
USA.
Okay.
Born and raised there.
So Chicago, and again, Chicago is a very cold, I would say, state.
Yeah, Chicago is very cold and windy.
Very cold and windy. And you were born as in a Christian family. Your parents, they were Christian, Catholic.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And you were like, like when we were young, we don't really follow that much into religion, but you were paying attention to religion, like you were doing all the things you need to do, like go to the church and believe in the Bible.
Yeah, my family is very Christian, very religious.
Okay.
Our family church was my uncle's church.
Wow.
So I grew up in my uncle's church. The basis of his church was what we call a non-sectarian, so no denomination Christian, right? So pretty much the way it should be, where there are no denominations. Right? So I grew up in that church up until I went away to the Navy when I was 18. I was going to a church in the town down in Georgia. Whenever my ship was stateside, I would go to this church. And if you want to know the short story, I was just one evening, I was driving through Jacksonville, Florida, and during Maghrib time, I heard the prayer call down in Jacksonville, Florida. In this area of Jacksonville, Florida, that was done in person. There's a person out doing the call to prayer. So I thought, like, what is that beautiful song? I pulled over and just to listen to the song. But I noticed, and this is no exaggeration, I noticed that the birds were circling around the messenger as he was doing the prayer call. So I thought, well, I felt compelled to go inside.
And see.
I went inside. The imam met me at the door and said, "Assalamu alaikum, brother." I didn't know what he meant. He's like, "Oh, you're not Muslim, are you, brother?" I was like, "No, I'm not Muslim." He's like, "Come inside." He gave me some pamphlets. And I asked my pastor, what's the difference between Muslim and Muslim? I actually thought there was a difference between Muslim and Muslim.
What is Muslim? Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I thought there was a difference.
Okay.
So he said, well, we don't know anything about Muslim down here in Georgia. We only study Jesus. And so he was really like disturbed that I was asking about Islam. So I'm not really sure why I became interested in Islam, but that's how my journey began.
No, but I think surely the call for prayer or the adhan was the sign that triggered like it's different. Okay, so you're lucky that you heard the adhan, because not in every state, like in Georgia, we don't hear adhan in that scale. Like there is no speaker or whatnot, but it is compilation. Like Jibril, whenever I go home and like in prayer times, like there are 5, like you would hear prayers, like call for prayers coming out from different direction.
That's right.
From any direction, and it's unique, and I myself, I love that call for prayer.
It is interesting to hear. It's lovely to hear.
Yeah.
We were in Dhaka last year, and it was surprising to hear the prayer call. It was comforting, really, to hear the prayer call 5 times per day.
Absolutely. Where in Georgia you said you were in with the ship in Navy?
I was in Jackson. My ship was stationed in a naval sub base.
Okay.
Kings Bay, Georgia, which is borderline Georgia and Florida.
Cool. Oh, I got you.
So I spent most of my recreation time in Jacksonville, Florida, which is about maybe 20 minutes south of the base.
Okay. All right. So now then, okay, so that was like your intro to Islam, or the intro to Muslim religion per se. So then what did you do?
Well, my friends would laugh at me for studying Islam because they were all Christian.
Okay.
In fact, one of my best friends from that era, he's now a Christian pastor. But he and I would have these arguments about religion. He's like, "Why do you want to be Muslim?" And so I'm like, I'm interested in Islam. So I started studying Islam. I came out of the Navy, and at that time, it was really, really popular to be a part of the Nation of Islam. Okay. Well, the Nation of Islam is the same organization that Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, they came through in the embryonic stages, the early stages of their Islamic experience. So I went through that experience. They were instrumental in making me a more disciplined Muslim. But then you get to a certain point, as you start to read the Holy Quran, you start realizing some inconsistencies. the Nation of Islam, like they're a really great organization. They do a lot in the Black community of America. I have a lot of respect for Farrakhan. He's known worldwide, especially in Iran. But I just started noticing some inconsistencies, some things that, so I just started studying the Holy Quran. I started studying under Imam Warthuddin Muhammad. He's over the largest Muslim congregation here in America. He's the Imam over the largest Muslim congregation here in America. So Imam Warthuddin Muhammad, or Imam W.D. Muhammad. So I started studying with him, studying the Holy Quran, and been studying Holy Quran ever since, just learning the fundamentals of Islam ever since I was 19.
I have a question for you, young man. So back at the time, which year was this?
1990.
1990. Okay. So luckily, I would say at that time, fortunately, Islam wasn't looked upon as a terrorist religion. Thank Lord for that.
Well,
no, it didn't happen back then. It didn't happen in 1990. It was like later on, I think. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. You're right. It wasn't as bad. Islamophobia,
correct,
not as bad then, but this was just 1990. America went to war with Iraq, right? And if you remember, well, you may not remember. I'm not sure if you're old enough to remember that, but during that time, anti-Islamic sentiment started growing in America.
Yeah.
I think we remember that. Remember 1990?
1990.
It was a big thing in Bangladesh, right?
Yeah.
America is striking.
Yes.
The occupation of Kuwait.
Yeah.
But people, I think back in that time, they don't have much idea about Islam. You are right about it.
Right. I mean, Islam wasn't a much spoken topic at that time.
I would just interject that it wasn't well spoken in the mainstream America.
Correct. Yes.
In the Black community of America, a lot of African Americans are Muslim, or they at least identify as Muslim, or they at least are interested in Islam. Okay, so Islam has always been a part of the African American experience, right? It's just that you have people, just like if you have that dichotomy in the world in many different contexts, different countries, where you have people that are super Christian and then people who are very Muslim in the same community, same society. So in the African American community, we have people who are very Christian, and we have people who are very Muslim.
So let me ask you this: like in 1990, of course, I wasn't in the US back then. So how was that? How were you looked upon, Jibril? Like you are looking into Islam, or when you converted to Islam? I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. How would people look at you? Not your family, aside from family, like work.
Well, my dad, he was born in 1928. He was a lot older than me.
Okay.
But he was interested in Islam. In fact, the first book I read on Islam was Jesus, Prophet of Islam. And he bought that book. He purchased that book back in 1965.
Okay.
Here in America.
Right.
But it just wasn't. You didn't really have a lot of people in Africa. Again, a lot of people in the African American community were interested in Islam, but the only options you had for Islam was the Nation of Islam, right? Some other small groups, but people were just not very knowledgeable about Islam.
Understood. Got you. So in what year did you finally decide that you're going to convert?
That was 1990. That was 1989. 1989.
Oh, wow. And back then you were married or no? You weren't married.
No.
No. So how did your parents take it? Your siblings? Let's start.
My mom has always been like, she's Christian, very Christian.
Okay.
She would listen. She listens to me talk about Islam, but she doesn't accept Islam. My dad, he was interested in Islam. He wanted to learn more about Islam. In fact, as he was dying, he started calling for Allah. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, and the nurse. We went back. He was in the hospital for about a week before he died. We went home, came back to the hospital that morning.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor asked if we were Muslim. I said, "Well, yes, I'm Muslim, but my dad is not Muslim." She said, "Well, he's been calling on Allah all night long."
I missed that part. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, he had been calling for Allah all night long.
Wow.
I think we missed that part.
Yeah, and he said to me maybe a year before he died that a taxi driver suggested that he learn more about Islam from me. Right? I gave him a Holy Quran,
Mm-hmm.
but one more thing, my dad was what you call a Shriner. A lot of people in America, mostly older men, are what we call Shriners. They're either Masons or Shriners. Masons are what we call sons of Muslims. And Shriners, have you heard of like Medina Temple? Here in America, you have a Medina Temple or the Shrine or whatever.
What is that?
Well, these are like secret societies here in America where they study.
Oh.
Yeah, in the upper scale corners of America, they study Islam in secret. So like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, they were Shriners. So they studied Islam. Yeah, they studied Islam in secret. In fact, Thomas Jefferson had a Holy Quran. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about Abraham Lincoln, but a lot of the presidents were Shriners, so they studied Islam in secret. So my father and my uncle, the pastor,
Mm-hmm.
they were Shriners. So they had Holy Qurans. My uncle actually had a Holy Quran in his church.
Okay.
But it was
wow. Can you have it? Okay, I guess that's interesting. You can have a Holy Quran in the church. Okay.
No, I heard a little bit about it, but he confirmed me that is true about the American president that they read Holy Quran in secret. I don't know about the present president, but yeah, back in those times.
we will know later. So let me just take this back. It's interesting. দর্শক আমরা এখন যেটা নিয়ে কথা বলছি খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং যে আমেরিকার বিভিন্ন প্রেসিডেন্ট বিভিন্ন সময়ে আমি নামগুলো কনফার্ম করছি যে তারা গোপনে কোরআন শরীফ পড়তেন, অবশ্যই ইংরেজিতে পড়তেন। হয়তো তারা সেই সময় গোপনে পড়তেন কারণ তারা আমেরিকার জনগণ, আমেরিকা তো খ্রিস্টান কান্ট্রি, তো খ্রিস্টান হয়ে আপনি গোপনে আপনি একটা অন্য ধর্মের গ্রন্থ পড়বেন, এটা গ্রহণযোগ্য হবে না, কখনোই হবে না। তো সেই জন্য হয়তো তারা পড়তেন না। বাট ইন্টারেস্টিং। আমরা একটু এগিয়ে যাই, আরো কিছু গল্প। Go ahead, Jibril. That was very interesting, by the way.
But they studied Islam in secret, but it was for the elite of America, of the Western world. Okay, so Islam is not supposed to be spread or taught to the vulgar culture.
Okay.
The masses of the people. So they studied Islam in secret. So they were receptive to Islam. My father was receptive to Islam. Mm-hmm. But he just never really had a chance to really study it formally, right? And so may Allah, bless him. Hopefully, Allah accepts his prayers as he was dying.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting to know about your dad. So now let's go back to your when you converted to Islam. So how did your life change, Jibril? Tell me. Like meaning, I'm focusing in terms of chores. Like of course, we have like 5 pillars of Islam, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get along managing those pillars or practicing them?
Well, I think so. When I first became Muslim, it was learning the practical aspects of being Muslim. Okay. I was naturally attracted to wisdom of the Holy Quran. Right? I was really excited to learn to read the Holy Quran. But then, as far as practicing Islam, I had to learn that. So I had to learn how to pray. But nobody around me knew how to pray. Right? And
yeah, back then, I mean, now you have YouTube. YouTube will teach you.
now you have YouTube.
Back then,
There's no YouTube.
Yeah,
So very less number of masjids.
Yeah, and so I would go to the masjid, and I always felt like embarrassed that I didn't know how to pray. And so like I was ashamed to ask, the brothers to teach me how to pray. So I would just follow what everybody else was doing. Right.
Cool.
So
well, that's a start. That's a start.
Yeah,
yeah. To go to
like sometimes I remember, like, after 3 rakats during Maghrib, I would stand up and everybody's like, I'm like looking around, everybody's still down. So it took me a while to learn that. And then, just understanding charity, the importance of giving zakat. So as I started becoming more knowledgeable about Islam, started learning the fundamentals, I started working with an imam in Chicago, and he was actually Pakistani.
Okay.
And so he started teaching me about the fundamentals of Islam. But I would say that I had no real problem accepting, being a disciplined Muslim, as far as like not drinking, not smoking, not doing stuff haram, because I came through the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is very strict. Okay, I mean, they are like, you talk about Sharia law. They are like very strict. Okay, so like no fornication, no drinking, none of that. Right, with the Nation of Islam.
And I want to interject here for 1 second. And like drinking part, drinking or just giving you an example, or smoking.
Drinking is alcohol drinking.
Yeah, not water. Yeah.
Not water or tea.
Yes, of course.
Oh, wow.
Alcohol drinking, of course.
That's interesting.
So how does Christianity look at drinking, Jibril?
How did what? What'd you say?
How does Christian religion looks at?
Oh, Christianity. Oh, Christian. You can do everything as Christian.
Okay.
You can do anything. At least, I mean, there are some groups of Christians, evangelistic Christians here in America, that are very moral. You have some really good Christians, but in general, you can do pretty much anything you want to do in terms of morality as a Christian, because
and except drinking, what about like other
yeah, you can do everything.
If you can remember, back in Bangladesh, we had Christian friends, and they were very moral. They strictly follow Bible. It's like I never saw any of my Christian friends and their parents drinking alcohol. Even alcohol was kind of forbidden to them because they are very much Catholic. Only maybe wine.
Oh,
yeah,
so maybe I don't know. So maybe there are different. I don't know. I mean, I don't have much knowledge about it. So okay, that's fine. So the point I'm trying to get, Jibril, is how do you, so that's one is fundamental. So you did try to learn how to do the prayers. I get that. That's a big part because, of course, our prayers is 5 times a day. And then comes Ramadan. How was your first Ramadan? How did you do that? How was that? Because ours is different than yours. Like we don't.
It is. Yeah, my first Ramadan was very difficult. I don't think I did. I think maybe in 1990 I did my first Ramadan.
Okay.
And I remember, like, oh, this is impossible, right?
Yes, it's tough, and it depends which state you're in. Like if you're in California, you have like the longest day. So of course it depends.
Yeah, now Chicago, we had. It depends. Like if Ramadan was in July or August, you can't eat until 8:30. Iftar would be set 8 o'clock, 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock even. But during the winter, I remember one Ramadan in Chicago. Iftar was at like 4:30, 4:45.
So that's a short day.
That was an easy year. Yeah, but no, I love Ramadan. Once I started fasting, I think I did my complete fast in 91. And as I said, I was with the Nation of Islam between 1990 and 93, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they fast during Ramadan, but also during December, right? And they also advocate 1 meal per day, right? You eat once every 24 hours. So I did that for a couple of years.
Kind of autophagy. Autophagy that we
Yeah. Yeah.
16 hours fasting.
So it's what now it's called intermittent fasting.
Absolutely. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
So they advocated 1 meal per day. So it was easy. It became easier and easier for me to, to fast during Ramadan.
Cool. All right. One last question, Jibril. Then I'm gonna talk to Nasima for a couple of minutes. Jibril, tell me something. Except of the pillars, right? I mean, I'm not talking about the pillars. Except the pillars, right? Let's say Islam, of course, even the Quran tells us not to lie, or not to steal, or not to hurt others, either physically, mentally, in either way. Was that difficult from Christianity? Like those principles?
No, I mean, there's a lot of, I think Christians have the same religious values, moral values.
Correct.
Muslims do. It's just that a lot of Christians, and unfortunately, at least here in America, Christianity has become compatible. Has been metamorphosized to be digestible by the Western world, right? So it's kind of, there've been a lot of compromises, a lot of compromises to make Christianity palatable, if you will. So but if you are really studying Christianity, if you're studying the Bible, if you're trying to be a good Christian, if you're trying to model your life after Jesus, peace be upon him, then you really don't have a problem with that transition to Islam and being a good Muslim.
Exactly. That's what I was going to like. And I don't know how you guys think. Like, of course, each religion is different. How you practice, of course, there are rules and whatnot. But if you are religious in any religion, Buddha, Hinduism, whatsoever, I think the moral in every religion is the same. Like, you cannot lie, you cannot steal. That's practiced everywhere. But unfortunately, how it's practiced, or if it's practiced, that's a different story.
But one more thing I want to add is that, so my ex-wife, she's Christian.
Okay.
So my children were raised Muslim and Christian, studying Islam and Christianity.
Okay.
And during the time, I thought that was really difficult. But they have a perspective like I have, right? Where I understand, I'm empathetic to Christians. I understand why, they value Christianity, right? So I don't really see any incompatibility between Muslims and Christians. Like, I don't see why we shouldn't be, one community, right? Because the only problem is in lack of understanding on both parts. Christians misunderstand Jesus, peace be upon him. They think he was either the son of Allah, or God himself, God himself. They actually think Allah that Jesus is actually God in person, or the son of Allah, right? So there's just lack of understanding. But Jesus himself, peace be upon him, he prayed. Okay, so he submitted to Allah. He prostrated. So it's just lack of understanding.
I got you. I have another question, a related question. So you said you're
the same. Yeah.
You said, Jibril, your kids they were raised with two religions.
Yeah.
Your wife was Christian and you were Muslim. So how did that go? Like, how did that go on them? Not on you. Like, how did they take it?
It was difficult. It was very difficult because I would teach my sons how to pray, but I didn't teach my daughter how to pray because I presumed that she was going to be Christian like her mom. So I put a lot of my time into teaching my sons to be Muslim. But surprisingly, my daughter became Muslim.
Okay.
And my sons, they are kind of practicing this. They're still like, but they're not as interested. But my daughter, she became Muslim.
She became Muslim. Oh
She
wow.
became Muslim, and she is an avid Muslim. She studies Quran. She's a hijabi. She does, she even wears niqab. But she became Muslim. But she was the one I least expected her to be Muslim.
I got you. All right. Now we're gonna go to Nasima because we are interested to find out how did you guys marry. And let me just say something in Bangla.
Yeah.
দর্শক আপনারা অবশ্যই বুঝতে পারছেন নাসিমা বাংলাদেশে নাসিমা বড় হয়েছে এবং পড়াশোনা করেছে বাংলাদেশে পরে বিয়ে হয়ে যাওয়ার পর আমেরিকার নিউ ইয়র্কে চলে আসে এবং অনেক পরে আলাপ হয় জিবেলের সাথে এবং সেই গল্পটাই আমরা এখন জানতে যাচ্ছি যে নাসিমার সাথে জিবেলের পরিচয়টা কিভাবে হলো এবং কিভাবে নাসিমা জিনিসটাকে নিল যে ও খ্রিস্টান থেকে মানে আমরা যাদের সাথে মুসলমানদের সাথে মিশি ইউজুয়ালি আমাদের কালচারে আমরা তো সবাই ভাই বোন মুসলিম আমরা খুব কমই দেখি যে যারা কনভার্টেড মুসলিম বা অন্য ধর্ম থেকে মুসলিম হয়েছে তো আমি একটু জানতে চাচ্ছি যে ওই জিনিসটা কিভাবে নাসিমাকে হিট করলো এবং নাসিমা তুমি একটু বাংলায় বললে ভালো হয় আমরা অনেক কথা বললাম বলো
বাংলায় কথা বলি সারাদিন জিবরের সাথে ইংলিশ কাপচাতে আমার খুব একটা ভালো লাগে না যাই হোক আমি আমেরিকাতে এসেছি বিয়ের আগে আমার বোনেরা থাকতো আমি আমেরিকাতে এসেছি আমার অনার্সের পরপরই তারপরে আমি এখানে একটা স্কুলে কাজও শুরু করেছিলাম আবার বাংলাদেশে ব্যাক করে আমি মাস্টার্স করেছি যাই হোক আমি বিয়ের সূত্রে আমেরিকাতে আসিনি এটাই বলতে চাচ্ছি আর কি আমি যখন ইউনিভার্সিটিতে পড়তাম আমার 1978-এ মোহাম্মদ আলী বাংলাদেশে এসেছিলেন মোহাম্মদ আলী আমাদের কালজয়ী খেলোয়াড় অবশ্যই যাকে চিনে এক নামে যখন মোহাম্মদ আলী বাংলাদেশে আসলো এখন বাংলাদেশে একটা বিশাল আলোড়ন না একটা কালো প্লেয়ার এসেছে এবং সে বিশ্ব জয় করে এসেছে কি দারুণ একটা আলোড়ন বাংলাদেশে তা আমি তো অত কিছু জানতাম না আমি খুবই ছোট আমার ভাই বক্সিং খেলা দেখতে স্টেডিয়ামে গেল তো সে ছবি তুলে নিয়ে এসেছিল মোহাম্মদ আলী আর ওয়াইফ ছিল ভেরোনিকা খুবই সুন্দরী মহিলা we were talking about Muhammad Ali's visit in Bangladesh. So I was so charmed. আমি এত খুশি যে আমি তখন সাদা কি কালো এই সম্বন্ধে আমার কোনোই ধারণা নেই কিন্তু একজন খেলোয়াড় সে দেখতে খুবই সুদর্শন সে নাকি বিশ্ব সেরা বিশ্বজয়ী একজন তো তারপর থেকে একটু একটু করে আমার Black American history, Negro, and then African American এই কনসেপ্ট একটু করে আসতে লাগলো আমি তত এত বুঝতাম না বাট আমার মনে আমরা মিডল স্কুলে কিংবা হাই স্কুলে আমরা একটা মুভি দেখলাম কান্তা কুন্তি তোমার নিশ্চয়ই সেইটা একটা আলোড়ন সৃষ্টিকারী একটা ব্ল্যাক আমেরিকানদের একটা স্লেভারির একটা পিকচার তুলে দেওয়া হলো দ্যাট ওয়াজ দ্য আমি মনে করি একটা গ্রাউন্ড পয়েন্ট for Bangladeshi people to understand what Black American means, what Negro means, what African American means, how the slavery started and how brutal it was, right? It's ভয়ঙ্কর অবস্থা নাম ছিল রুট আর কান্তা কুন্তি ছিল মনে হয় একটা ক্যারেক্টার মেইন ক্যারেক্টার প্রধান চরিত্র ছিল আমাদের কাঁদিয়ে ছেড়েছে প্রতিটা দিন আমার প্রতি সপ্তাহে অপেক্ষা করতাম ওই সিরিজটার জন্য আর প্রতিটা সিরিজে এমন কোন মানুষ ছিল যেটা কান্না করেনি কিন্তু আমার এই যে ব্ল্যাক আমেরিকান আফ্রিকান আমেরিকানদের সম্বন্ধে একটু করে ধারণা হলো এবং আমার মনে আছে আমি তারপর মোহাম্মদ আলীর উপরে অনেক আর্টিকেল পড়েছি তারপর আমি শুনলাম ম্যালকম এক্স এর উপর আর্টিকেল পড়া বইও একটা কিনলাম আমি ইউনিভার্সিটিতে উঠলে কিন্তু আমাদের অনেক কনসেপ্ট বেড়ে যায় because we are mixing with so many type of people especially আমি দেখি ছেলেদের সাথে মিশলে আমি আরো কিছু জানতে পারি কারণ ওরা politically more aware ছেলেরা তো যাই হোক আমি যখন পড়ছি আমার ভালো লেগে গেল মার্টিন লুথার কিং পড়ছি, ভালো লেগে গেল। একটু, একটু করে এই যে ব্ল্যাকদের নিয়ে আমি চিন্তা করছি। তারপরে আমাদের দেশে কিন্তু অনেক আমেরিকান সিরিজ এসেছিল। অনেক টিভি সিরিজ আমরা দেখেছি, তাই না? সেখানে আমরা অনেক আ আফ্রিকান আমেরিকান, ব্লাক আমেরিকান যাই বলা কেন তাদেরকে আবার মুভি দেখেছি, তাদের টিভি সিরিজ দেখেছি। তো আমার ভালোই লাগতো, খারাপ লাগতো না। আমার মনে আছে আমি 1995 এ যখন ১ম আমেরিকাতে আসলাম, তো আমি আমার কয়েকটা ফ্রেন্ডকে বললাম, "আমি চেষ্টা করব একটা ব্লাক আমেরিকানের সাথে ডেট করতে।" আমি জানি না এটা কেন আমার ভিতরে এসেছিল। I have no clue, but it came just in my mind out of nowhere. আর মনে হয় মোহাম্মদ আলী দেখতে খুব সুন্দর ছিল। ম্যালকম এক্স ও দেখতে খুবই হ্যান্ডসাম ছিল।
অবশ্যই, অবশ্যই।
এটা আমার I just contemplated something like that.
অবশ্যই।
আমি যখন আসলাম আমেরিকাতে কিন্তু আমি দেখলাম এর চিত্রটা একদমই আলাদা। The picture is entirely different.
Yeah.
Okay?
কিরকম? How is it?
It's like I was here for a very short time. আমি এখানে খুবই অল্প সময়ে ২.৫ মাসের মতো ছিলাম। ২.৫ কি ৩ মাসের মতো ছিলাম। এবং আমি তো ব্রঞ্জে ছিলাম। আমার ১ম এ আসাটাই নিউ ইয়র্কের ব্রঞ্জে। তা আমি যেখানে থাকি রিভারডেল, everybody is so sober, sophisticated, very well dressed up.
Good neighborhood. Yeah.
আমি যখন একটু poor neighborhood এ যাচ্ছি কিংবা হার্লেমে যাচ্ছি, I see entirely different picture. Like they are so shady. It's like dark something. People are, they are
Lost.
still very confused. They're very lost and everything. And Black American, they do not.
Struggling. I would say এখনো আছে. It's still struggling,
I
unfortunately.
think maybe a little different now. So they are stepping into main culture, main society. Anyways, আরেকদিকে আমরা দেখছি Black American many terrorists. They're always with guns and everything, shooting, right? আবার টিভি সিরিজ গুলোতে দেখা যাচ্ছে সুন্দর সিরিজ আছে ব্ল্যাকদেরকে নিয়ে। আমার মনে প্রিন্স অফ বেল এয়ার তখন এয়ারিং হচ্ছিল, উইল স্মিথ। And Will Smith was, very, very attractive person. Everybody liked Will Smith.
Still is? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So it's sort of mixed. আমার একটা mixed feelings. Could be mixed feelings.
Well, you have 40 million
Yes,
African Americans.
Right,
Everybody
right.
is different.
Everybody's different, definitely.
Absolutely.
And the Bangladeshi people, they have very poor knowledge about Black America.
No knowledge. I would say no knowledge at all.
Very poor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so যাই হোক আমার
So yeah. So how did you get from there? So how did you get to meet Gibran?
So that's a very interesting story too.
Because you live in New York. He used to live in.
He was in Chicago. Yes.
Correct.
Yes. I was not looking for anybody. I was so busy, and I was handful with my 3 kids, right? And it's pandemic era. 2020 আমাদের প্যান্ডেমিকে তো সবাই আমরা ঘরের মধ্যে আটকানো, রাইট? আমাদের তো অলস মস্তিষ্ক শয়তানের কারখানা। যদিও আমি কাজ করছি, এটা করছি, সেটা করছি, তারপর ঘর থেকে বেরোচ্ছি না। সো তখন আমি তো বিভিন্ন ফেসবুক, এই ব্লগ, সেই ব্লগ, এই ওয়েবসাইট, সেই ওয়েবসাইট কনস্ট্যান্টলি আমি ব্রাউজ করতাম।
Instagram.
Yeah, he was also in Instagram. So ব্রাউজ করতে করতে ওর সাথে পরিচয়। আমি যখন দেখলাম যে he is different. He talks sense.
Yeah, I was looking for a Muslim a potential wife, right? Like, but the number one criteria was a Muslim, that she's Muslim, right? But I do want to add something.
Yeah.
That while the Bangladeshi community is not very, in general, are not very knowledgeable about the African American community. African Americans, especially African American Muslims, we are positioned, or I should say, we have a worldview, right? Like I understand. Okay, let me explain it like this. I understand how being Muslim, an African American Muslim, a historically oppressed person in America, right? How I have a commonality with Palestinians, for example, right? Like I understand, like I'm your phone's distracting me, man. Like so
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm empathetic to what's going on in Palestine.
Yes.
Okay, I understand why. I understand their struggle. Not thoroughly understand their struggle, but I'm open to understanding their struggle. I understand how their struggle is related to my struggle as an African American Muslim. Okay, so I think a lot of we in general, African American Muslims, have a greater worldview. We're interested in what's going on around the world.
Because you know why? Because you know why that is that way. Because you guys read. The more you read, the more books you read. Of course, that's gonna give you more knowledge, more power, and absolutely, that's gonna make you more diverse also. So I like that. I'm not gonna make the same comment about our So I'm not gonna get into our because Bangladesh. I think it's a cute country. Well, I'm from Bangladesh. That's what they say. I mean, like any other country that's developing, we go with hypes. Like what we see in Facebook is what is the truth. So instead of doing other research.
Renuma, when last year we went to Bangladesh, right? But people accepted him as he is. And you know what? Everywhere you feel that he is welcome.
That's why I said Bangladeshis, we are extremely good country.
People are very hospitable. They accept everything.
Very friendly. The people in Bangladesh, to me, are very friendly. There's I mean, I know everybody's not innocent, but there's a sense of charm, of innocence, in the TV commercials.
Yeah.
You know, everything seems more peaceful. It's like on the one hand, it's very loud and noisy. A lot of people blowing their horns and everything. But on the other hand, it's a certain peace that I had over there. It's interesting.
Absolutely. I'm sure, I'm giving an example, and I'm certain about this experience. Like, if you are, let's say, if you are getting on a rickshaw, and if you tell the rickshaw puller that you are Muslim, oh my God, you're going to make his day. And he would be so happy. I can visualize that conversation. Am I right, Nasima?
Or if you say, I love your country, I love Bangladesh, and they will be super, super happy.
They would be so happy. And I like that, Gabriel. I've been living in the US for so long, but of course, you have been living here too. I noticed that we have lost that capability of being happy with small things a long time back. But if you notice, in Bangladesh, if you go later, or I don't know whether you notice it already, people are happy with small things. Nothing. Like you telling a rickshaw puller you're Muslim. I mean, what does that matter to him? Nothing, right? There is nothing he will make his day. So small things like that.
It's so simple. He will be happy with little things. If you give him a cupcake, he'll be super happy.
Well, I mean, I like luxury also, but the thing is, it's human. Being human is more important,
correct,
right, than seeking luxury, right?
Always.
We shouldn't seek luxury at the expense of humanity. And unfortunately, that happens.
But that's the best thing that I like about Jibril. Okay.
Yes.
He has an innocent mind.
Oh.
That's the thing that he just said. That he loves luxury. He appreciates luxury, but he appreciates luxury. Then
especially cars. I love luxury cars.
Okay. You got to earn it. You just cannot, brag about it. You just can't stay wild, right?
One more thing. Let me say one more thing I want to say before that you talk to Nsima. Is I think we need to revisit the understanding, the idea. We need to understand as Muslims that we're one community. That was the intention of the Prophet, peace be upon him, right? The one ummah, right? And the reason there's so much discord in the Muslim community is due to lack of understanding, right? So we focus so much on our conflicts, our misunderstandings with Christians and with the Jewish community, but we miss the fact that we misunderstand within our own community. Most people have the Holy Quran, and they're not really studying the Holy Quran. They may be able to recite the Holy Quran, but they don't know the essence of the Holy Quran.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Now, I don't know when it will happen, but the more we talk about it, of course, and our next generation, let's talk about that for 1 second. So whatever we have learned, we have to give it to our kids. and maybe that's how we start this process of telling them what Islam really is, and they take it forward, because of course we're not going to be here forever. I'm going to go back to Nasima for a moment. Nasima, I understand like last year or the year before, you and Jibril, you guys went to Bangladesh. So how was that experience? How did that go? How did Jibril Bangladesh go?
Experience bittersweet.
Bittersweet? Why it's bitter? Sweet, I expect, but why bitter?
You know what? It's for a very short time.
Correct.
10-11 days. So আমরা যখন গেছি definitely এটা অনেক গরমের সময় ছিল. Jibril is not a fond of winter. He's not fond of winter. He likes moist weather, but still, Bangladesh weather is a little, with like a air pollution, sun pollution associating with all this stuff. তো সে যখন বাংলাদেশে গেছে, সে খুব এক্সাইটেড, এই প্রথম সে দুনিয়া আরেক প্রান্তে যাচ্ছে, রাইট?
Absolutely.
তার সহধর্মীদের সাথে, এটা অবশ্যই এক্সাইটিং। তো কিন্তু কথা হচ্ছে গিয়ে ওখানে যাওয়ার পরে অ্যাপ্রিশিয়েট করছে যে বাসা বাড়িগুলো খুব সুন্দর, রাস্তাঘাট যদিও ভয়ঙ্কর, কিন্তু বাসা বাড়িগুলো খুব সুন্দর, খুব অ্যাপ্রিশিয়েট করছে। কিন্তু সে সাউন্ড নিতে পারছিল না, ট্রাফিক পলিউশন নিতে পারছিল না, যার ফলে আমাদেরকে আর আমাদের এই যে ট্রাফিকে যে সময়গুলো যাচ্ছিল সেটা তার জন্য খুবই কষ্টকর হয়ে যাচ্ছিল। আর ভয়ঙ্কর হংকিং রাস্তাঘাটে, and then অনেক ধুলাবালি। ডেফিনেটলি এটা হবে, এটা খুবই স্বাভাবিক।
For first time, yes.
হ্যাঁ, অ্যাডজাস্ট করতে একটু সময়
I
লাগে।
like Gushan.
Yeah, he only likes Gulshan. That's it. That's the only area. But আমরা গ্রামে যাইনি, আমরা সিলেটে যাইনি, কক্সবাজারে যাইনি। আমাদের যেটা প্ল্যান ছিল, ইনশাআল্লাহ নেক্সট টাইম আমরা যাব। আমাদের বাসা ছেড়ে হোটেলে উঠতে হয়েছে, যার ফলে আমরা অনেক কিছু মিস করেছি। আর খাওয়া দাওয়া খুব অ্যাপ্রিশিয়েট করছি। He loves the food of Bangladesh. He definitely did. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Next year, inshallah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
let's pray that hopefully the traffic will get better, because we are launching or we already have launched metro rail. All right, দর্শক, আমরা অনুষ্ঠানের শেষে চলে এসেছি। Jibril, thank you so much for your precious time, young man. Really blessed. So glad to have you here. So glad to have you. Yeah, Nasima, thank you so much for your precious time. দর্শক, আমরা আবার এরপরে চলে আসবো আরেকটি গল্প নিয়ে। আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন, দেখা হবে আবার। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।